After two very short-lived best-of-5 series which happened last week, the two semi-finalists for tonight have been decided. We will be taking a look at Fullclear Esports versus Dynasty NL and see who of the two teams will be able to go up against the ESLOL on Friday. And for that, as it is customary here on Rift Entertainment, you won't even have a single caster, not two casters, but three for the price of two, as I will be accompanied by none other than Freshtana and QG. Welcome back, guys.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Hey,
How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, I got smaller. I think. To be honest, on the same height now. You see?
You're regressing.
It's good.
Yeah,
It's perfectly balanced.
Getting smaller,
Perfectly
regressing,
balanced.
unlike the two teams which we'll be taking a look at today. Fullclear Esports and Dynasty. Fullclear Esports, who throughout the season did actually pretty great. With a few off-meta picks, were able to always surprise the enemies and keep them on their tabs. Made their way to second seed, losing 3-0 in the best-of-5 series against ESLOL, being pushed down here in semifinals. And Dynasty, which had a rough start in this split and were able to consistently get better and better, and now even last Thursday it was, get a clean 3-0 and get here in semifinals against Fullclear Esports. And I would say, without any further ado, rather than just speaking in the air like that, we can maybe take a look at a head-to-head between the two teams, Fullclear Esports versus Dynasty. Let's see what they've got up their sleeves stat-wise. Freshtana, maybe you can tell us a bit about what we're seeing on screen right now.
Yeah, especially we see that Fullclear is a way faster team than Dynasty. So just the shortest game is shorter, and of course the average game are shorter. Because Dynasty usually takes a lot of time to close out their games. We had a lot of late game finishes from them with their Nico, for example, from Franklin and stuff. And then and because of that, we even see that the stats usually are a little bit better by Fullclear because they are the second place team in the league, while Dynasty had a really tough time to even come to playoffs, right? So that's why the stats on the bottom side of this stat board are a little bit better for Fullclear, but also like the time speaks for itself that Fullclear usually are just a little bit faster in their victories, while Dynasty needs a lot of time to even come online.
Yeah, but it's also harder to actually deal damage, to keep up the damage per minute as long as the game goes on. That messes a bit with your average, so it's hard to see what the damage per minute is. If the game is not as long, your damage per minute is higher, and if it's longer, it's harder to keep that up. So you see that Dynasty is actually a full late game team, and you see that by the stats.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking the game to the fullest would be best for them, and also speaks in their favor when it comes to a best of 5, I would say, because you can always take some time to get more into it. Trying to refocus my camera here, wait a second. That should do the trick, or it doesn't. Anyways, then let's keep going. Those teams wouldn't be anything, of course, without the stars thereof, their players, which, of course, actually play the game and get the results. And maybe we can start in order, starting off with the top lane for Fullclear Esports versus Dynasty. Two very strong players we have there, and maybe QG, you can tell us a bit more about them.
Yeah, and you see that Hasaki wins in every of the three stats we have. His champ pool is also focused on winning lane, or even carrying late game with the Jax and the Renekton. And he also has one team fighty champ that's Ornn, and it's 36% pick rate, so you have to actually take care of that. And with Feastia you have like, yes, a bit more less KDA. The kill participation is also 5%, it's not that much. And the CS per minute is also 0.5 minutes per minute, is also not that bad. But you have these champs that enable stuff. His main is his most picked, so he's still getting these mains because, yeah, well, against Fullclear you'd have to rethink your draft with the mains they have, and I think it's all focused on team fights rather than Hasagi with the winning lane, win game, or scale to late game.
Absolutely. Next up is, in my opinion, kind of the antithesis of the top lane. Top lane very often being a bit more isolated than other lanes. Then we have the jungler, which of course goes all over the map. On sides of Fullclear, we have none other than Gallop, the horseman himself, as I would say. And on the sides of Dynasty, we have Humulu, someone I believe you, Frastana, are particularly fond of. So I'll leave you to telling us a bit more about those two players.
Yeah, of course, Humulu, my boy from Germany. My one of my former junglers, like Skellen, both played in Dynasty anyway. We see definitely like two types of gameplay from both of them. While Humulu usually goes for more the meta type of champions with the Wukong, with the Sejuani, we see that even that Gallop usually goes for his own playstyle with like Mundo and Volibear, which is really cool to see that he is such a different kind of player. And then we see that he usually goes for much more of those full clearing type of gameplay, because with Mundo, for example, you're really a stat check champion, so you need to farm a lot, while Humulu usually goes for those ganks. That's the reason why he has a higher kill participation but a lower CS per minute. So he kind of skips camps just to gank his team with Nocturne of Sejuani, those powerful level 6 ultimates, while Gallop usually tries to carry the game by himself and tries to get as much gold as he can to then just stat check and run them over.
Absolutely. I think it's really funny that you said he goes more for the Fullclear champions, considering the team's name. Very, very clever there. Next up is, well, the literal center usually of the game. The middle lane, of course, going through the middle of the Summoner's Rift. There for Fullclear Esports, we have none other than Mare, while for Dynasty, we have Frankie and maybe QG. You can tell us a bit more about these two players.
Yeah, and Mihir and Frankie. Frankie has these really meta picks with the Nico, the LeBlanc, and the Syndra. These are very high meta. Also early in the split, LeBlanc and also Nico were very high up the ladder, and Syndra was more counter pick against the LeBlanc. But yeah, Frankie has higher KDA. The kill participation is on me here with 61. I think that's actually high for a mid laner. And also Mihir wins in the CS per minute, so Frankie is focusing on these kills and not on the CS, as it looks from the champ pool. And then we have Mihir with the Victor for the late game, the second AD carry with the static shift meta with Ezreal, and you have Lissandra, the counter for LeBlanc. So he's more focused on mid game to late game and not enabling. He is enabling his team, but he's more on farming and getting the farming, doing the damage after.
Absolutely, and we'll keep going over to what could be considered the most important lane in the Summoner's Rift. We'll be going over to the bot lane, starting off with the AD carries, and there is, in my opinion, one player you should really look out for in there. We'll have on the side of Fullclear Esports Nomad, and on the side of Dynasty Dark UniQ and Frastana. I'll let you do the talking here.
Yeah, definitely two of the more important carries of both sides, especially Nomad. Usually, if he is ahead, then Fullclear has a good chance to win. But the whole team kind of doesn't really play around too much around his Aphelios. So usually he is really standing by himself. That's why he has a low KDA, because he isn't really that peeled too often and stuff, but is still a really strong carry for their team, and always plays those hyper carries like we see with the Kog'Maw and with the Aphelios, just that they have a late game win condition. On the flip side, we have Dark UniQ, kind of on those more aggressive champions, especially like the Lucian, the Sire, more on those even champions where you can let them being alone and still he is strong on them. He has some really safe carries, like the Sire and the Lucian, of course, can peel themselves. That's why There's a higher KDA and stuff. So Dark UniQ really, really important, and we usually see that they just try to play around him. So I think the big focus in the series even will be which ADC gets ahead more and who can carry his team a little bit better.
Absolutely, and we had Dark UniQ last week on the interview after Dynasty's win. Such a great person, such a great player. In this best of 5 series, he really popped off. The more and more they went into games, but AD carries are absolutely nothing without the next role that's upcoming. That's of course the supports we have at the sides of Fullclear Esports, Skyonage, and on the sides of Dynasty, Crablord and QG. You can tell us a bit more about those two players.
Yeah, and as you can see, these two players are they play differently. Skyonage is more the enchanter and more the defender for Nomad here, and you also see that kind of in the KDA for the of these AD carries. Crablord is more the engager with the Rakan and the Nautilus. He enables Dark UniQ more, therefore Dark UniQ's KD is very high, and for Nomad he's defended more, so his KDA relies more on these team fights. But Crablord also has the upper hand in KDA. In kill participation 76%, so you see his engages are very important for Dynasty, and the average vision score of 86, that's Skyonage has a nice vision score, but the 86 is way higher, and that's almost 100, yeah, it's 86 wards per game on average, so I think we had a record of 120 or something, I was told last week. But yeah, you see engage against peeling or enabling, and I think it will be an interesting bot lane. If you look at the stats, Dynasty has the upper hand, but yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting.
It's good you mention it again. The highest ever warding score we had throughout the season was Crablord indeed, with 169. So
Nice.
on both sides, seems like we have mathematical geniuses simply. They go for the right number, the one you should be aiming for. And
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what they've got in store for us. In any case, two very strong teams here in the Elite Series 2nd Division that will be facing off here in the semi-finals in a best of 5 series, which of course is also a very important thing to consider, because, well, last week we had those 3-0s, but it's still always a chance, even if the other team takes a win or second win, you're still in the run to eventually get a win and nothing is played for. This also means that there is a lot of mental pressure building up over the course of the games. It's not just one game, you win, you lose, okay, it's over, we'll see them in a few weeks. No, it's we're playing in 2 minutes again. Not 2 minutes, it's always a bit more, we take a longer break, but it's we're playing right after again. Can we take the win now, or can we keep the winning streak going? Definitely a lot that would be on the mind of the players, and maybe for Steiner you want to tell us a bit about this, let's say, moral pressure you have over the course of a best of 5 series.
I think the first game usually speaks for itself, because if you win the first one in such a best of series, you have really a good mood for the rest of the series, because you know you are in the lead and you know you beat them once, so you just go into the other games with like a good morality boost. But on the flip side, especially if you lose the first one, maybe even the second one, you kind of get pushed from your teammates if they push you to maybe now turn it around. So even if you start with a lose or even with 2 losses, nothing is over. We saw plenty of reverse sweeps in the history of League of Legends. So nothing is over just by losing 1 or 2s, but especially, and I think that's a really important thing, if Fullclear comes down to this bracket with 3-0 as a loss, Dynasty comes in the bracket with 3-0 as a win. So I think that's a really an important role of this best of series, that one team kind of got pushed down while the other team just played a perfect series more or less. So that could be one deciding factor in the mental warfare.
Yeah, as I said, last playoffs, I think the mental is very high up in best of 5 series. You have like you have like between 3 and 5 hours of a game day, and you have to be concentrated for 3 to 5 hours, and that's a hard thing to do. It's not as easy as you think it is, and if it's your first playoffs, you're also nervous, and that comes to the thing. But the mental is the thing you need. Yeah, you have to have it. It's hard to get it, but you need it.
Especially when it's two teams that are, I would consider Fullclear Esports and Dynasty at least rather close in terms of skills. It should be more or less even. And then you have this situation like maybe we've had on Thursday, where you're deadpan even until you do one single wrong move, and the other team just takes advantage of it and starts carrying and keeps the chase going, and with that can carry to a win. So it's a single mistake can be very, very fatal, and yeah, it's just this sort of butterfly effect that you have then, because yeah, you take they take a lead, they take the game, and with that there is this effect on the morale that starts dropping slowly but surely very often, unless you're a very strong-willed player. I think in those situations it's really important for a team to kind of have a sort of backup going for them. A coach, a manager that can cheer them up. I believe both teams are, they all have at least a coach or manager have forms. And it's also a very important role to take advantage there during a best of 5. And maybe for Stana, you can tell us a bit about the importance of such a role in a best of 5 series.
Yeah, I mean, the wonderful thing is that I'm a negative example for that. Like last Sunday, we actually played our tiebreaker in Prime League, and we went down 1-0, and so we needed to win 2-1, and we did it. But like I usually don't make those like morale boosts for the team. I usually do a bad joke or say like a sentence that they don't want to hear. Like, yeah, I mean, you actually lost it because you are bad, and then I mean that's not a good speech for them. But they did it. So usually it not only comes down to the coach or manager, it really comes down to the players themselves. If they just take it like personal, or if they just tilt really fast in such a series, it's really, really hard to come back. But if they know we had a better draft and we just fucked up, or if they know, okay, with a better draft we can win the early and snowball from it, then it makes a lot of sense that they just keep try-harding. Because usually a lose is not always a lose, right? So you can lose in a dominant fashion, like 20-0, just got stomped, hard reset, and then you just know, okay, we need something to do. Or you can get a lose like you do plays and all of them backfire, like you get almost every single trade and they all get stolen and stuff. Like that's a more heartbroken lose than just getting stomped, right? So the players themselves decide how hard they take such a thing, and even how hard they can try to fight back, right? So it all depends on the mental game from those players, if they tilt fast or if they can just reignite each other and try to go for the win after that.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the draft. Actually, we've also talked about a few picks before, and I believe when there is Fullclear in a game, the draft is always a bit interesting, because we have this Dr. Mundo pick, for example, for Galop, who is usually banned, maybe the Hacker Rib even, that kind of stuff. And on the sides of Dynasty, actually, we've also seen some very interesting drafts, in my opinion, last Thursday. So maybe QG, you can tell us a bit about what we should be expecting going into these drafts now.
Yeah, so I think the Mundo, Clad, and Hecarim were, in the start of the whole split, they were almost permabanned. Now people are thinking, okay, they are not that strong, we can counterpick it. Hecarim is also not that high on the tier, high on the tier list. There's still better junglers out there. The Mundo can just stat check you, so you have to take care of that. You have to take an early jungler to keep down the stats. Rek'Sai is also not up on the ladder anymore, so these 3 picks are almost out. Well, you play Sejuani, that's one of the best junglers. Still, Maokai wasn't shown in the top 3, but has the highest win rate. out there and is still the strongest jungler there is at the moment. So I think it depends on the really on the early game. Which bot lane gets ahead first, and if you just we saw it last week where you just split the map and then you have like these awkward situations that you have to focus top and one got the bot lane, and then you have to kind of fix your jungle, and that's really hard. So if you go for these map splits and you are on blues on bot side, you actually could win the game because you get your bot lane ahead. But yeah, pick Kai'Sa, play Jace, work for Dynasty worked for Dynasty before, like these poke execution stuff worked really well last week actually for Dynasty. So I think that's really a point. I think the Frankie's Jace is up there.
Yeah, it's definitely terrifying on Thursday last week. Maybe for Stana you have something to add about the draft.
Yeah, I want to point out that like the first match day of the whole split was with Dynasty against Fullclear actually, and I remembered that Dynasty didn't ban the Mundo and then just got overwhelmed by him, and then when they faced in week 4, Dynasty won. So I predict that they now that they can just ban out like one or two broken champions. I think even one of them will be open, like for example the Clad. I think they will not really respect it, but just have something in mind against them, or maybe they don't ban out the Hecarim, for example, just because I don't believe that Gallup in the games where it was open didn't pick it, so it's not like the best meta pick right now. So I think the Dynasty definitely knows how to draft at the moment against Fullclear, and they come with such a big confidence boost now after the first playoff round that I believe that they have like higher chances at least to take down Fullclear, who struggled in the playoffs. I mean, they played against ESLOL, but still they struggled in that regard. So I believe that Dynasty has like a little upper hand against them.
Yeah. I also think that if you look at it, Fullclear also has like 2 losses, I think, since and the 3 against Rift Sloth. So it also depends on, can you lose, can you adjust to losing. That's also a thing that Dynasty learned. They lost more games than Fullclear, and therefore they can just up their game actually. So it's like you can, if you can adjust better in a best of 5, you win these. So it actually depends on how you adjust to losing, and if you don't lose that much, you never learn to adjust yourself. We had that last playoffs with Aoma, where they won the games. They actually almost never lost, and then we had Reapers who lost, and they adjusted to the loss, and they know what the mental was after a losing game, and that's really the thing that you have to take in action. Losing and then still coming back from a loss is a bigger boost than winning 2 times, because you say, okay, we have 1 more game. But if you lose a game and then you win, you have the boost for the 3rd game, and then you're ahead. But if you like win 2 games, you have like this mental, okay, it's gonna be an easy 3-0, we can do this. But if you lose and win, the boost is up. Yeah, we can do this, and then you win you're 2-1, and then you have the mental boost, because the other one, yeah, we lost. What are we gonna do? We lost 2 times in a row. Yeah, do we go back to the first game where we won, or do we try other stuff? That's really the thing in a best of 3 or 5 you have to look at. It's not that easy.
Mental, always very important in League of Legends. I believe anyone who's played the game knows that. Now, a bit of information coming in from production. We have a slight delay on the champ select. Fullclear will have a subbing in on the middle lane. Taxvic will be playing in for Mary. So that's a bit of a rough start into a best of 5 to play with a sub. However, we've seen over the course of the split a few subs subbing in, and they usually played really well in my opinion, so I don't think that should be too much of an issue. One last thing, during the player presentations we've noticed that there is a bit of a difference in terms of usual play styles between the two teams. It has been noted that is visible within their usual bans throughout the split. Maybe Pristana, you can add something to that.
Can you ask the question, please? Again?
Yeah, about during the split, based on the picks, usual picks from either teams, we could identify a bit of a very different play style between them. We can elaborate on that.
Yeah, sure. So I predict that we see almost like the same bans coming out from Dynasty probably every single game. They might decide to ban out Mundo, and then it's kind of like a coin flip. They could ban out Milio, but I mean, he's still strong, got nerfed on the newest patch, but not on this one, I think. Or is this 14 patch still the nerf? I don't know. But like, there are some options for them to ban out from Fullclear. On the flip side, I think Dynasty has a pretty wide array of champions they can play. So it's really hard to find like 1 or 2 easy bans. I might predict a rail ban, because I know that Humelu at least played her a little bit in solo queue, and Crablord is playing her, so that could be like the flex pick they could play to work around. So I predict kind of like this little rail ban. And then the big question becomes, what do you really want to ban out? I think Krennican could be a contested pick, and probably they will just play on the top lane, and probably the Ornn for Hazaki if he is open, just because they usually play around bot lane. And like Hazaki for me in this whole league is like the top side, weak side king, in my opinion. His rented games without resources looks really great. He's one of the best Ornns we have in the league. So they could just try to place him on one of those two and just try to draft around bot lane, just try to draft like a heavy ganking jungler with a good CC ultimate for their bot lane for Humelu, just to kind of secure something there. So I predict that we might see some jungle bans against Humelu, that we might see some jungle bans against Gallop, because this is a really crucial role. And then maybe even a Nico ban, because I think Frankie's Nico is really, really scary, and he is still playing her even on this patch, so that could be one thing that they want to shut down instantly.
Yeah, and if you think about the Nico, the only thing they changed was the 0.5 seconds on the ult, and I think there were little adjustments of the damage, but she's still very strong. And also the static shift changes weren't that big, at least for now. The Night Harvester still procs with the static shift, so you can poke through minions and then proc the Night Harvester and you get more damage out. So I think for Frankie, it's still good to just poke or jump in, poke out, jump in, poke, and every champ he plays is focused around this poking. From the, you know, and there's the thing. Poking against a engage comp is pretty good, because you can like get them low before they even start engaging, and then you have these upper hand in the team fights. We had, I swear, I have the thing in my mind where I see the Kog'Maw getting EQ'd by Jace, then hit by Kai'Sa, and then Kai'Sa went in, killed the Kog'Maw, and then E flashed out. So what are you gonna do against that? You have to dodge, but you still have to be in range for damage. So, you know, these, I think also the poke with the engage is still very important, and you have like two champs that can, two AD carries that can do both. Engage is Varus and Kai'Sa. If you play around these with probably a Jace in mid lane, or even a Ziggs or Xerath, maybe they are not that strong, but the Jace is really, really strong at the moment. You can actually do something. Like against engage comps, it's hard.
And we'll see how that goes as we're headed to Champ Select between Fullclear Esports and Dynasty. Fullclear is losing all bans here because of the delays and the last minute sub-in. But we'll see how it goes. A few notable bans that in the end fall into the water, notably the Jace. You mentioned very strong. Frankie did a phenomenal job on it last week, but Fullclear has the first pick, so maybe they'll be taking it for themselves just to not allow Frankie having it, because that's dangerous.
Yeah, and not having bans, if there are champs that are actually strong and you're on blue side, is not that bad, because you have 5 more champs that you can pick. So if you're on blue side, you don't have to ban like these pocket picks, because yeah, but getting these 5 more champs on the board is interesting for the whole game, and also changes your draft strategy, because you have to think, oh, there are still 5 champs that are open that we have to consider. So also losing all bans is not a good start, but Dynasty is banning Gallop all the way. For the Volibear is even buffed in this patch, and Rexa is kind of nerfed. But yeah, Dynasty is concentrating on Gallop. I think we talked about this before. The jungle is very important, and there could be a Maokai coming for Fullclear. Maybe Gallop plays that.
See very soon what goes on. Of course, something that is also important to note that we haven't mentioned yet, but the Rel was, for example, mentioned. Throughout the split, we've had a lot of flex pick shenanigans going on, and I believe that will keep on going. Notably on Thursday, we had Dynasty doing some big ones. So let's wait and see.
Yeah, and like Hikarum is open, Mundo is open, Fuse is open, so a lot of good picks for Fullclear. Even a Klett would be open. So they could pick one of their OTPs, or just securing something strong like the Chase, like the Kaiser, or just like a blind pick of Fuse would do the job as well. So let's see what the decision of Fullclear is for their first pick of the series. It's actually Renekton for the top lane.
Yeah, they're going for the safe pick here, safe lane with the Renekton, also getting a pick out of Hasagi. But then we have the Rumble, who is actually considered with his buffs. They're pretty nuts. But yeah, there's the Kai'Sa for Dynasty, and there's the Jace. So they have the poke comp already finished. They can pick whatever they want now. The poke is there, and the engage is also there. So yeah, let's see what Fullclear does here.
I mean, not leaving the Jace open for it to be taken away, I think it's a good call to go with what worked really well on last Thursday. But that does give Fullclear the opportunity to properly go up against it and build up a proper either full engage that just doesn't let them even poke or something like that, and we go for the Ahri on the middle lane.
Yeah, but one big problem of this Renekton first pick is that you kind of lost one good engage option, especially like with this long range poke, Kai'Sa Chase. You kind of need someone who can reach them like one ultimate, like the Malphite, like someone who can easily engage them, even though they have a lot of range. And Renekton isn't really like one of those champions, so he needs to flank from like a good angle to really find them. Or he needs to flash in the double dash, for example. So it's not that easy with the John. You can kind of close the gap, and with Ahri as well. But like that's really a tough decision to insta lock like Renekton and to close all those hard engage options for the top lane. And now with Sejuani and Maokai, we probably see both junglers now.
Yeah, and I think that's the whole comp we had on Thursday, at least for these 3 picks. I think it's like 100% the same thing. But yeah, Fullclear lost bans. They couldn't ban the Jace, they couldn't ban the Kai'Sa. So the stuff is changing, and now the bot lane has to be picked. The Samira is out now. Fullclear is not banning, so we can actually think, what will Dynasty ban more? Another AD carry. There could be Kog'Maw Braum still up for full Nomad and Skyonage. So maybe ban. No, you don't want to ban the Kog'Maw because you can burst him with poke, so let that open. But the Braum that can like block everything you have could be a menace at this point. But they
Or the
banned the
Aphelios,
Aphelios.
because he is pretty good into following up those engages or complementing them really well with Moonlight Vigil. Can get into it really easily, and I think he would be very dangerous there as well, especially knowing Nomad's history with the champion. I mean, seems very dangerous. But as you've said, the Braum still open for Fullclear could be a very good pickup here. Let's see.
Yeah, but it's hard now to really find some draft angles for Fullclear, just because there are not really good ADCs left for Nomad in my opinion, and like it's really hard. And even like with Kog'Maw Braum or something, you just get outpoked, you just get demolished in the hyper late game, and there's Ornn, so you can easily reach those squishy targets in the backline. But with Ornn picked up, it could actually
Braum.
be the Braum, just because you can always block the ultimate. So I think we could see Kog'Maw Braum here, even though Kog'Maw will have a really hard game, and Zyra Khan kinda does the trick because she can peel him, so she can jump in the air to block Ornn ultimate as well. And now they have even a good reach to get to those poking champions with Sejuani and Rakan, so that could work. But especially on those two long range engages, Saya can't really do something. She either needs to ult instantly against the Ornn, or she can't really follow up on this kind of engage. So I kind of see Saya struggling a little bit in the late game.
Yeah, but they are all pretty mobile. They get on the champs pretty fast. Renton can follow up the Sejuani and Rakan. Ari can like triple dash to someone and just E. So yeah, actually take care of this these long engages. The Ari can very good follow up. For these two engages you have, the two go buttons are there, but for Dynasty there are more go buttons, so if we follow up the whole season, the go button is still there, even with the poke. You poke and then you go after, so it's just the same thing. The go buttons are here for Dynasty.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that Renekton pick, you guys already showed some skepticisms towards it. I mean, it doesn't have the range to properly engage for the team. It needs to properly flank, which is never too easy to set up, right? I mean, you need to have the proper vision, which is going to be hard to get against this poke comp with so much engage, because you do one wrong step, you're in the wrong place, wrong time, and they can just decide, okay, let's collapse on this guy, because we have 3 picks that do this really well. So maybe they need to find a way to really put this Renekton in a good position so that he can maybe roll over the Ornn in the top lane if he's able to do so. I don't know.
Yeah, it will be hard. Like this Renekton first pick definitely set up a lot for Dynasty actually. I mean, he will have a rather good matchup against the Ornn, but Hazagi played it plenty of times this matchup, and I even believe that Hazagi on a good day can even win this matchup on his Ornn, so it's not like that easy for Renekton. Probably better, but still it's a hard one if the Ornn plays really good. But we see a clear weak side with this Ornn. We see a clear strong side with Rel, with a lot of engagement with Maokai, Rel, and Kaiser. So, and then of course the Prio with Jace in the mid lane. So I think that's a really strong draft actually by Dynasty. On the flip side, I mean, if we just look at the whole Fullclear team comp, I think it's a strong one. But as the team comp against this Dynasty team comp, I believe that they kinda got out-drafted, especially with this Renekton first pick.
Yeah, but if you don't have bans, you have to play like this. It's hard, but it's not undoable. I think they wanted to take the Renekton to just have a pick that has a decent lane against everybody. He's one of the strongest laners since season 1. Therefore, Renekton is also, in my opinion, it was always, since like 2 years, a meme top laner. Like, yeah, if you don't know what you want to pick on top lane, just pick Renekton because he can win lane and then maybe do something in the mid game and then he falls off like a Trog and he's just a meat shield. Maybe they wanted to do that. Yeah, we can't see in the heads of the coaches and players, but the Renekton is, in my opinion, a hard champ to pick blind. You know, if you want to pick him, counter pick is very strong. But if you get a tank, he's gonna outscale you anyway. So you have to do something. You're forced to to have interaction in your lane. So it could be a good thing. You take the jungler top side, and your jungler can go bot, or you have to have your jungler top side, and then your bot lane is behind, and that's the thing you have to consider. Like, you can't have both strong sides. You have to have one weak lane. So if you choose to be top or bot, take the adjusted champ.
I believe they went for an early pick of the Renekton. Usually top laners have always been picked in the second draft phase. Maybe they were expecting a ban in the second banning phase coming in from Dynasty, because it is a very versatile champion still. But Stana, you reckon, what's the game plan here for Fullclear Esports, considering that they are maybe less favorable in this matchup?
Yeah, they should play around mid lane and top lane, I would say. Just because Renekton Sejuani is such a good combo that you kinda can kill the Ornn in the early game. And then, of course, Sejuani Ahri is definitely strong enough to kill Chase. So I believe they should play around their side laners, while bot lane could be weak side in this kind of matchup. Especially because they know that Dynasty will play around bot lane. So they can kind of predict it and can try to just set up good vision and just to be really, really protected. And then, of course, Sejuani can try to go for those counter ganks on bot lane just because she knew there will be some action in the bot lane. But yeah, just play for your Renekton. I mean, you first picked him, so your plan is to play with him, right? And just try to get Herald probably.
Yeah, dominate the early game with the combo is also very important if you want to scale. So you scale even faster, and with these poke combs you want to be ahead, just to get some poke in, because you can't actually poke if you're behind because you lack damage. That's also the thing you need to consider. But I think we have to consider a lot in these games nowadays. So I think early game is actually the point. Get the Rift Herald, get your bot lane ahead, and then you're fine.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that goes for either team, as we are in the Summoner's Rift. Both teams decided to do the classic spread over or along the river, and we will be seeing the minions spawning just about now. And there we go. Fullclear Esports versus Dynasty here in the Semifinals Best of 5 series at the Elite Series League of Legends 2nd Division.
Yeah, let's see who can go for the first win of the series. We already see like both game plans in action. Maokai is starting top lane to then rotate bot lane because he wants to play around this Kaiser and red lane, while Sejuani is jungling probably top lane to then kind of help out Renekton and maybe get an early kill there.
Yeah, and with the early kill, Renekton can stomp the lane and Sejuani can concentrate on bot side. That's the interesting thing you have in this. But the map is split. So, in my opinion, Dynasty, if they want to go for the bot lane camp, they actually can. Oh, nice W.
Yeah, I believe here in the top lane we're gonna see a lot of this. Just hitting each other. Already see Afasi can be a bit more liberal. Once he's got the Wrath up, can just use the Q to heal back up on minions. And wait for Humlu. Humlu coming in the mid lane here. We have the flash in, and the damage from Frankie is in there. Taxfit will not get away with this. And that's first blood going to Frankie.
Yeah, that was really well played there, but there's even another gank.
Yeah, we have here Galop going into Humlu, picks up the kill, flashes over the wall. Frankie goes after him to pick up the return kill. Is the stun going through? No, he gets the kill, but we have Taxfit who's now there with the TP. But Frankie is already pretty much gone. We even have Sky Ownage coming up from the bot lane, but I don't think they'll be getting to him.
Yeah, but that was wonderfully played by Humulu and Frankie. And especially like this combination of the instant follow-up W.
Meantime, on the bot lane, Nomad all alone is getting engaged. Now Sky Ownage is back. We have to flash over the wall. Traveler picks up the kill, and it's Sky Ownage versus the two bot laners of Dynasty now. Is he going to be able to get in the turret? Seems like he is, yeah, but that's a rough start for Fullclear here.
Yeah, and wonderfully played again by Dynasty. Just kind of punishing this little roam by Sky Ownage, who tried to get a kill on Frankie but couldn't get it. And with that, he was just too late to cover Nomads there. So, no chance for Sire to get out.
See, nothing much happening now, as it is in the early game. Not too much going on yet, although we've had those few kills, and this sets Frankie in a really good position now. He's already 2-0, which is really nice because we've mentioned earlier, Galop will want to gank mid lane because with Taxfit, with the Ari, they should be able to get the kill on this Jace. But now with 2 kills, it's already a bit harder to do so.
And now there's a gank.
Yeah, gank on the bot lane, the engage on them, it is clean. Humulu coming in with the CC, and that's a kill going to Dark Unique, setting Dynasty one step further again, and they're already setting the pace here.
And it's just too clean, they just punish this little overstatement by Nomad, and of course he has no flash, so it was just an easy gank for Homolu.
Yeah, the game is so action heavy at the moment. Like we don't see these, you don't see the normal ESLOL early game where nothing happens. So
yeah, I mean,
Frankie ahead.
Seems like Dynasty, this, like knowing they're in a team comp that they're comfortable on, they've already won off, seem to be very like proactive in this game because of that. Because they know if they start setting the pace, they get those few kills, they can just snowball off of it, and currently it's going really well for them.
Yeah, they just dominate the early game. Even in those little trades, Sasaki still holds his own. And like at the moment, everything is perfectly well done by Dynasty. And no even Humulu on his weak side, but just to cover it. And probably nothing more.
Maybe we see something now. Galop is there. They knew Humulu was top. This DC, I think he has coming.
Ah, the reaction of Hazaki really good, immediately getting out of it. But nice angle also from Galop. Oh, they keep on going. Are they going for the tower dive here? No, I don't think so. Passia is already pretty low. Good life.
Yeah, I mean, in this matchup, he could have even tried to go for the flash and just flash trade.
Huge on the bot lane, a lot of damage falling on Nomad. The CC is landing, and with that, Dark Unique is going to be able to pick up that kill. He is a bit far away. Sky Ownage got the heal through, flashed to his bot laner. Oh, here's the second stun. That's the kill for Dark Unique, and the other one going to Problem. In the meantime, on the middle lane, we have Galop coming in, trying to go for the kill on Frankie, rather save his own mid laner. Taxik is getting really low already. Is almost doom as well. Humulu coming in, but I think the situation here is kind of diffused.
And just the 2v2 kill for Dark Unique and Crab Lord, wonderfully played. And this red is just really, really strong in those 2v2s.
Yeah, and Dynasty looks different. They are not the late game team we expected. They have very high action in the early stages, so this could be hard for Fullclear.
Yeah, and even keep the pressure going. I mean, here we have something just as benign as Well, Krablot just went into the enemy jungle just to show himself, just to say, hey, look, we're ahead. I can do that without any repercussion whatsoever.
Yeah, and Gallop even played it really safe after he saw him. Just went back and then even waited for the damage coming out from Krablot to then just kill it. Anyway, I mean, just look at the whole bot side. It's 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. A lot of shutdowns there. And just a perfect early game right now. 2k gold ahead. All which is missing at the moment are the Drakes and the Heralds, of course. So at the moment it's kind of a kill-focused game and not around those objectives.
Yeah, Dynasty always lose these 2v2s, and that you see on the... oh, here's some action.
Ram coming in for Hazaki, gets a C front Fastia, is gonna drop the Dominus. And I think with that, yeah, Hazaki just gets out of the way and this fight is over. Ulti for ulti. I believe that's good for Hazaki because Fastia is gonna lose a lot of kill potential without his ultimate up. Oh, has to be careful though. Still had it up there.
Yeah, the biggest problem with this ultimate trade is that the Dominus has a much lower cooldown than the Call of the Forge God, probably because it's a way stronger ultimate.
Nicely played from Skyonich here. Wow, good reaction interrupting Krablot's engage here. Look, it still does a lot of damage to Unique already. Goes in with the flash, follow up with Kill Instinct, and the damage on Nomad is there. That's another kill going into Dynasty's AD carry's pocket.
And he just had level 6 before Nomad. Here it's level 6 even before both supports. And with that, he can just follow up on this flash engage by Krablot. Wonderfully played by them, and even the communication in such a play is on point that he knows I have level 6, let's go in. And they just instantly secure like the 4th kill on Nomad, who really struggles in this matchup. But like we said in draft, not a single good ADC pick was open with Samira banned, with Aphelios banned, with Kaiser picked. Like they are just worse ADCs after that. And like Kaiser with Rakan usually is a good lane, but they just lost the early game, and with that all the pressure they normally would have.
Yeah, it looks rough for Nomad to actually do something, because Dark Unique and Krablot can just go in and kill them when their cooldowns are up. It's not that easy for Nomad. Nomad is even behind in level. He's lower in level than Skyonich, and that's not a good thing. You don't want that as an AD carry. You want the AD carry to be ahead in level and not behind. That's hard. 2 levels actually.
This is also the point where the morale starts to drop a bit when you start getting killed over and over again. Here's the jungler again, here comes the CC. It's, yeah, now Skyonich dying at the end. In the meantime, top lane Hazaki having a bit of a good trade, but the situation turns around as Pasture does the damage with the CC landing. With the heal, okay. Anyways, top is over, now we're at the bot lane again as Dynasty is going at this Drake, and yeah, Fullclear Esports not even gonna risk it here. Go back to their lane, play it safe. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, so much action and no kill in all of that. It was just really even close on the top lane. And like I said, Hazaki on a good day can even solo kill him there, even though the matchup isn't like the best, but On is just really powerful in those 1v1s. So he actually almost outplayed it, but then the sustain came through from Renekton on the bot side after the charm missed. Fullclear just wants to get out of there. This is just a Cloud Drake. You don't need to lose a team fight just because of the Cloud Drake.
Yeah, and the Cloud Drake is not that important, so you just try to pick someone up and get your shutdowns in. It's very important for Fullclear to come back into this game. They're 3k ahead, 3k behind in this early game. So you have the gang.
Yeah, Patient Prison is dodged ahead of time. Not even a chance to land with that situation. It's a bit diffused, can interrupt the backports. There's also something I noticed on the bot lane here. Dynasty plays it really passive until they have the engage, really. But we saw just earlier, they were 2v2, it's Fullclear that was pushing in, and Dynasty was just like hanging back. They wait until the wave comes in, and then Dark UniQ just almost one-shots it, especially now with the static shiv, and then just Qs into it works really well.
Yeah, I think the big storyline that we kind of did not talk about is that Fullclear as a team coming from the amateur circuit was just a really well coordinated team who knew that they can win a lot, and then they just played those best of ones in the league where they just crushed some of those teams because they couldn't play against this play style. But now, after like the whole season is over, teams like Dynasty just realized how to punish Fullclear, and with that, or even like the Rift loss with the 3-0, for example, and in those longer series, or after a lot of time has passed in this league, people just analyzed Fullclear right, and they just know how to punish it.
Yeah. You can see it, the engage on the bot lane, all in. Humulu with Crabblot and Dark UniQ can just shred through Fullclear. They try to pick up the kill, get a lot of damage out on Dark UniQ, who is forced to flash away. He uses Cleanse rather. They do pick up the shutdown money, but it went to Gallop, who now is in the middle of Crabblot and Humulu, although 2 tanks is usually survivable for a tank especially. Although the CC here, yeah, no. So Gallop does get away.
Yeah, just well played. Just getting, I think, 1 for 1 or 2 for 1 in the end. It's just a little bit more of a lead than before. But of course, a big shutdown came through. For just Sejuani, I guess, so it's not the worst thing in the world. But still, it's a big shutdown coming from Dark UniQ.
He hit the catch on the top lane and first here. Unbeknownst goes into the bush, but yeah, here is the damage of the Renekton is gonna go behind Hazaki, who even burned Flash here.
Yeah, and that was just like a really, really high risk, high reward play by him, but in the end the risk was way too high. So without mana and just with a really easy to dodge spell there, he just lost the 1v1 and lost the flash. So he didn't need to go for that, but he wanted, and in the end he got just punished for that.
Yeah, but nice try though to actually do the triple brittle comp of Ornn. It's the highest damage one. It's hard to get off against the Renekton though. Frankie.
Fighting Galob is just around the corner here to catch Frankie. Is gonna die. The shutdown money goes to Fastshare, and with that, Fullclear Esport is getting some money back in their pockets.
No, that was a good catch on Frankie. So at the moment, Dynasty kinda lost their guard down a little bit, just losing members left and right, but still have a kinda high lead.
Yeah. And with that, they decide to kind of go more aggressively, but no engage in the end. There we have Skyone just goes in. They might get the kill on Crabblot. Knockup does land, but the stun as well, and damage from Dark UniQ is not to be underestimated. Nomad is forced to use his Featherstorm, will die, however, at the hands of Dynasty. We have Taxwick who came in, is going to need to use Spirit Rush, get on a turret, but the CC is unstoppable, and that's 2 more kills going to Dynasty.
Not just 3 clean kills, 2 more for Dark UniQ, and in the end even probably the first tower bot lane, so that's a huge lead they will now get. Oh no, they will actually lose the first turret top lane against the Herald.
Yeah, but Dragon is up. It's Ocean Dragon, and you can't contest that. So it's 2 dragons for Dynasty. I still think you can defend this tower. So yeah, no, you're getting dove.
Yeah, he's forced to use God of the God, Forge Guard, and the damage on Hazaki is still pretty big. Crabblot coming in. Hazaki is not going to survive, and now it's the Rel player who has to be careful and fall back to the turret.
Yeah, well played by Fullclear. They just knew we can burst through Hazaki after we killed the turret, so they just got 2 turrets in the process with another kill for Fierce. And that's exactly what I said in Gem Select. They need to play around this Renekton, they need to play around the Herald, for example, because he is one of the win conditions, and that's the reason why they even first picked him.
Yeah, it enabled them 2 towers and a kill, so that's actually good. Yeah, Ornn is not the shutdown worth, but a kill is a kill, you take it at this point, and Frankie is going to fight against Taxwick. Ari orders out, so there's nothing to fear. Crapload is coming.
Taxwick, nice charm from the Ari player. TP coming in from Fastia, and I believe they're gonna crash onto Frankie and Crowdblood, but Hazaki just behind. They have to be careful because with that there's a lot of CC, but a lot of damage falling on Crowdblood, and Fastia is the first to fall. Yeah, at the hands of Frankie, we have Dark UniQ who came in from the mid lane. Taxwick will not get hit by that, luckily for him, and now we have to counter-engage with Skyonage, who just explodes, but they get the kill on Crowdblood. In the meantime, Humulu coming in with Nature's Ground, and it's just here and there go for the tower dive. Dynasty gets a lot of damage on Gallop, but they themselves also rather low, have to be careful here. Fall back.
Yeah, probably this tower is Gonzo for Dynasty, or they try to re-engage.
With the Glash Prison, they pick up the kill on Hazaki, and they are able to stop the push from Dynasty. They have to be careful to not push back too much, but this is already very good.
Yeah, they just stopped it. That was well played by a Fullclear. In the end, I believe if Dark UniQ just ults in on the first kill, he is then be able to maybe secure some of the other kills, because after he did not ult on Renekton, he just never had the chance to ult after that. So he was just missing a lot of damage in this little team fight, and because of that, Nomad survived and Skyonage survived. So they could have been something, but he didn't want to jump in on Renekton.
Yeah, the poor Nomad here, 06, can't play the game.
They think they catch him, but you have Gallop just around the corner. Dark UniQ gets a lot of damage, and with Skyonage they are able to not further put themselves too much at risk. Dynasty is forced to fall back as Fastia is coming in. Taxwick as well from the bot lane. They find purchase on Dark UniQ. That's another shutdown going to Gallop. With that, Fullclear in a good position to keep a bit of a push going. Mid lane here. Nice charm landing on Humulu. Of course, and Frankie is the main target here for Fullclear Esports. But they just keep that siege going in the meantime.
Yeah, some good charms coming out from Taxwick. There's Hazaki now on the flank. But in the end, I mean, if you just look at total gold, even though 8 kills elite for Dynasty, it's not really a big gold lead, especially like we see those farm leads coming up on the both top sides. So right jungle and top lane have just a farm lead right now. We see it in gold as well here. So that's really kind of a problem. I mean, Dynasty just got some kills, but that's it. And after that, they lost first turret, for example. They just lost another turret. So kind of Fullclear is still in game, even though they shouldn't have been in game.
Yeah, but the gold sits on Sejuani and on Renekton, and it's not on your damage healers. It's not on Ari. It's not on Xayah. Xayah is very far behind with 2k. That's almost an item, and with the AP Kai'Sa poking, you are getting bursted.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also the Soul Stealer for Humulu.
Ooh!
Oh, not just the Magi's.
Yeah, absolutely. He still hasn't died, and I think it's really interesting. Fastia now really well into this game. Gallop actually as well. I mean, he was a Rister's player, as we saw, and that's just because of the shutdown money. So that's those small slip-ups that put you a bit far behind. Gallop here thanking on Dynasty, and the full engage is in there, but it's only tanks there. Fastia fights purchase on Dark UniQ, but he is in the middle of Dynasty members and will die at their hands. Meanwhile, Crowdblood next to fall at the hands of Dynasty. Try to keep the push going, but they have to be careful because now Dynasty is reunited all together. It's a 4v4 currently, but Nomad is already really low and cannot partake in the fight. Goes mid lane to push that in, might be able to get that turret, but has to be careful because he's really low.
Yeah, that was kinda a good fight from both sides. Really chaotic. Oh!
Nice Feather Storm from Nomad, but he is gonna die at the hands of Hazaki. Gallop keeps the damage going, should just take the turret along with Skyonage, or they might even get the kill now on Hazaki, but the tank is not able to get away. Skyrim has to be careful. One other W, no. Gallop is going to take that, but they have to be careful. Dynasty is going to pincer them, and I believe with that, Skyrich and Gallop are both going to die at the hands of the enemy team.
This is so dumb.
Yeah, the Kaiser damage is just really huge, and now they can even start this Baron up because Gallop is dead, Nomad is dead, Skyrich is dead. That could be a game-winning play here.
Yeah, and that's Baron for Dynasty with the Kaiser execution damage you have. And also Humalu doubled the Soul Steel, the Major stacks from 8 to 16.
Oh, yeah.
So we have some more poke damage. And even the Ludens. Yeah, I think Dark Uniq is just going to W his way to the Nexus.
Yeah.
And then at this point you see how obnoxious the Kaiser AP build is. You see it on ARAM, now you see it's Matter also on Summoner's Rift. So and you get the blue. Who gets the blue buff? It's Dark Uniq who took it. Oh, so even more Ws. Oh, it's so bad.
There you gotta hit them here. Also really liked, I mean, Fullclear is still looking to find the right moves to do. Beat from behind. God, the damage on Nomad, insane. Taxwood was on the bot lane, just pushing the whole time, but just earlier now. I really like that.
Yeah, I mean, he tries to get something, especially after the Bitches Baron. They at least got this turret because of that. I know there could be an engage from both sides.
Yeah, engage on Humalu, Nature's Grab's going behind now, Azaki in the middle of them. The damage dealers aren't quite there yet, but the tanks just survive long enough. Now Dark Uniq from behind is doing tremendous damage to Fullclear Esport along with Frankie. That's already 4 members down as Gallop now is trying to get away from Dynasty's monstrous damage, and they will be able to just handle the map however they want now.
Yeah, that was just a really well-played team fight again, especially from Dark Uniq, and now Gallop is the one who might get doved here.
Yeah, did you go for it? Geisha Prison on Humalu is able, no, actually to open him up the door to flee, but in the meantime, bot lane turret is falling, mid lane is getting pushed, and with that Baron, Dynasty is gonna shred through this entryway on the base. We have to counter engage as Fullclear is getting back to the map, but even Hazaki is almost one-shotting Nomad here, and that's just too bad for him, and they keep the kills going, they keep the push going, and I believe with that, with those offset timers, Fullclear is going to have a rough time defending this.
And they could still try to defend it, but it will be a tough one. Now they might get Marker here, but in the end nobody really dies. Ah, it's close, it's close.
Yeah, Festia doing his best, but the situation turns around as Dark Uniq keeps the push going, dies at turret hits, but with an ace, Dynasty is going to take the first game of tonight versus Fullclear Esports.
After 25 minutes in-game, they did it. And it was really dominant. In the end, they still, some hiccups. I mean, the gold craft wasn't dominant, you could say, but the game itself, every single team fight, was dominant indeed.
Yeah, the draft, the Jace and Kaiser one of those have to go. You can ban the Jace if you take blue side next, because Fullclear can decide on the side actually, so you can take blue side first. You either ban Kaiser or Jace, and then you pick one, and then you do the combo with Varus. Or you go red side and take both. Yeah, it's a menace. Also, not having bans is for Fullclear really hitting the mental at this point. That's also some stuff you have to consider. But let's look at the second game and maybe we see some changes.
Yeah, we'll definitely see how that goes, especially since now Fullclear will be having their bans. I believe I'm being told here that Taxwig will still be subbing in for Mary. However, no loss of bans, so that's already a better start to go into such a matchup. You can get rid of this Jace or Kaiser, and that sets you on a better foot. But we will see how that goes after a short break, so that we and the players can catch a breath, reorganize, and yeah, we'll see you very soon.